The guilds of Ravnica. We've covered two of them so far when we went with Selesnya for our Jasmine Boreal deck. We did Azorius when we did our Hope deck. Today is no different. We're continuing going on to our double colored decks, with today's deck being all around Gisela, Blade of Goldnight, who is a Boros commander, and honestly works really well as a great like Pillow Fort deck. I've messed around with this strategy a little bit myself, like with a bigger budget, but again, I want to do a series where I'm doing a lot of budget decks and mostly stick to that theme, and to kind of stick to $50 is like the maximum of it. And this was really close. This actually took me a while to kind of get perfected here. But today's deck is going to be a Pillow Fort group slug, where it kind of like forces your opponents to be, swinging at each other while you have a wall of taxes to to get through. And what little you can get through is reduced and stuff, because Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, is a 4 red white white legendary angel with flying and first strike and two abilities. That being, if a source would deal damage to an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that much damage. And if a source deals damage to me or a permanent I control, I prevent half of it rounded up. Meaning, like, oh, you send your 21/21 Galta, at me, and I take it. Well, I'm actually only going to be taking 11 off of that, because it'll be rounded up from 10 and a half. And then any damage I swing is going to be doubled. And from the little bit I have played with, like, my more expensive one, Gisela can kill people with commander damage very quick. And that's not necessarily the goal of this deck. Like, it definitely is a potential choice you could just make. But I wanted to work with more like burn spells and stuff. Like, we have an entire section on like burn spells and abilities. You got your normal ones, your lightning bolt, your shock. Even though these aren't technically burn spells, I threw Path to Exile and Swords of Plowshares in just because it's like it's your removal and stuff. Like, burn spells and removal, I kind of grouped together for this. Heartless Hidetsugu is more of a burn ability, as it deals damage equal to half of each player's life total rounded down. Then you just double it, and if they're at an even number, they're dead. You also got stuff like Earthquake and stuff that deals a bunch of damage to each player. You could build up some mana late game and just wipe everyone out that way, and keep yourself alive, because the damage that you yourself would be taking would be halved. And that's pretty much what all of these are. There are a few ones like Mob Verdict that I thought was really interesting. So each player will secretly vote for another player, and when the votes are revealed for each vote for an opponent, they take 2 damage each time. Like, say, there's a 4 pod and everyone picks one person, then they'll take 8 damage, or in Gisela's case, it will take 16 damage. And if anyone picks me, I draw cards. So, like, I don't take any damage from it, which is really nice. And it kind of forces people to kind of politic and stuff, and kind of force them to make decisions to go at one another. Prisoner's Dilemma is another one. Each opponent secretly chooses Silence or Snitch. Then the choices are revealed. If an opponent chose Silence, it deals 4 damage to them. If everyone chose Snitch, they'll take 8 damage. And if everyone didn't pick a single option, like, say, all 4 players didn't pick, like 3 players picked Silence, 1 picked Snitch, it will deal 12 damage to everyone who picked Silence. And again, in case of Gisela, deal 24. So it could get really dangerous really quick, considering she's not the only damage multiplier on the field. Then we also, light minefield is another good one. Actually, before I continue on, because I mean, most of the like are the exact same, like deal X damage or deal, like just a certain amount. Light Mine Field is whenever one or more creatures attack, Light Mine Field deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to the player that is attacking. It's really good for when I'm I'm goading a bunch of creatures. That means that I'm guaranteed damage on an opponent. And again, since Light Mine Field is dealing the damage, Gisela will trigger, and it'll be doubled. Going into our encouragement, here's where our other damage doublers are, or damage doubler is, that being Fiendish Duo. If a source would deal damage to an opponent, it deals double that much damage to them instead. So even if Heartless Hitotsugu hits someone that's 39 or something, they will still die because of the Fiendish Duo. And then this is all just kind of martial impetus, shiny impetus, the vows and stuff, where it's oh yeah, they'll get these boosts, but in the thing of the impetus cards is they're goaded, whereas the vow cards are they just can't attack me. Alexios is just going to be passed around the board, getting bigger and bigger as he's forced to swing. We also have Nelly Borka, who whenever she attacks, you suspect a creature, and then you goad all the suspected creatures. This also, I put this in encouragement as well because of her second ability, which is whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls deal combat damage to one or more of your opponents, you and the controller of those creatures each draw a card. Meaning, why would you want to swing at me when you could draw cards by swinging at, Jim over there to my right instead? We also got Redemption Arc, which will make a creature indestructible, but also goad it. This would be also good if you want to go the Gisela route and force her to just kind of make sure that she can get those swings off and she's indestructible, so it really doesn't matter. We also have Death Kiss, which doubles the power of any creature attacking an opponent. It does not double yours though, which does kind of suck, but again, it's to encourage your opponents to swing at each other. We also have Taunt from the Rampart and Disrupt Decorum, which are both roughly the same card. It goads all creatures you don't control, and in the case of Taunt from the Rampart, until my next turn, they can't attack, or they can't block. Meaning, I'll goad everyone, and then the person next to me can swing at either one of the two, and nothing can happen. The damage is guaranteed. And with Gisela, you're going to do a lot of damage. It's a bit of an expensive card. It's one of the cards that kind of kept floating in and out of the deck because of its price. But I felt like it was a necessary addition, so I just had to kind of start working around that. Aurelia, the War Above, or the Law Above, not the War Above, is another interesting one. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, I'll draw a card. And whenever I guess this isn't really encouragement. This is more like a burn spell. Or burn ability, I should say. But I will still talk about it real quick. So if anyone attacks with 3 or more creatures, I'll draw a card. And whenever someone attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia deals 3 damage to each opponent. And I gain 3 life. That means that, when I'm forcing people to attack, they're swinging with multiple creatures. They're either I'm going to be guaranteed a card draw, or you're going to take damage. The 5 it probably won't be as common, but you're definitely going to be getting a lot out of that 3 drop for the ability. We also have Bloodthirsty Blade, which gives a creature +2/+0 and goaded, and it only attaches to creatures that my opponents control. Curse of Opulence is just a really good one to kind of slap it on a threatening player. Because then when you swing at them, people are getting treasure tokens out of it. Or coin tokens, or gold tokens, my bad. And it's pretty much a treasure token. It's a free mana of any color. Rite of the Raging Storm is another really good one. So any creature named Lightning Rager can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player creates a 5/1 red elemental named Lightning Rager. It has trample, haste, and at the end of turn, you sacrifice it. Meaning, you have a 5/1 that you're forced to swing with every turn once Rite of the Raging Storm comes out, and it can't attack me. So, you're pretty much encouraged to, swing at each other with it. It's a 5-1. Like, it's pretty much guaranteed to just die no matter what. But even if not, that's 5 damage that you're swinging off on an opponent. I don't see the issue with that. I feel like that's a good one for really anyone who wants to kind of make people swing at each other. Then we also promise a loyalty. This is the only like real board wipe in the deck. Like there's definitely board wipes and stuff like in our burn spells. Like Earthquake specifically. It deals that'll hit anything without flying, which works great for Gisela because she is flying. So regardless, she'll be safe. But even so, like it wouldn't be that big of a deal for Gisela, even though she does have a really hefty mana cost. But Promise of Loyalty is like the only real board wipe in the deck. And I think might be one of its weaker points because again it's board removal is gonna be really tough for Gisela to kind of come back from. As red and white don't really have too much recursion. There's very few, and what there is kind of expensive, or at least not more expensive than I want to fit for this deck. It's all these decks are meant to be like mid bracket twos, maybe lower bracket two, something for like newcomers or just people looking for just a super casual deck to play. And pumping in that much money is to me a waste of time if you're not going to be playing this like super like competitively or like wanting to be the very strongest. Then there's really no point in spending hundreds if not thousands of dollars on a deck when you can just buy something like this for $48. Like it's to me it's worth it to just do something cheap and fun than go all out and might do something good. Who knows? Like then we also have Geode Rager though, because Geode Rager, what it will do is whenever a land enters battlefield, I go to each creature target opponent controls. This will combo great with Aurelia the Law Above, because if you're goading everything on a battlefield, so you're able to just kind of force out those ability triggers, and again you're forcing out more damage, and that's the important part. We do have a little bit of extra support though. Duelist Heritage will be able to work for like people who, since you can realistically target any creature as long as it's attacking. It doesn't have to be your own. You can give a creature an opponent controls double strike and win out the game with that. Use an opponent's 12 power commander and give them double strike. Oh, well, now they've killed them. Like, same thing with Legion Leadership. You can instant speed double a power of a creature, especially if it's something with like trample or just really high power. Guarantees some big damage on opponent, or just to use it on yourself. Something like throwing it on Gisela or really anything. It'll allow you to pump some damage out, and it also flips around into a tapped land, which is always going to be nice. So even if you don't end up having a reason to use Legion Leadership, you do have the Legion Stronghold land on the backside. Keeper of the Accord is just, your generic white support creature. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if they control more creatures, you create a 1/1 white soldier, and same thing with lands, you'll go search for a plains. Assemble the Legion is at the beginning of your upkeep, put a muster counter on Assemble the Legion, and you create a 1/1 red and white soldier creature token with haste for each muster counter on Assemble the Legion. This allows you to get more creatures so that way you can block the little bit of damage that will come through. As well as get more damage out, because you're hopefully going to be able to overrun the board with some extra tokens and stuff just to kind of get that power out there. Here we have Hot Pursuit, which is probably one of my favorite cards in the deck, because it'll combo really well with like Geode Rager specifically, as well as like Martial Impetus, Shiny Impetus, Taunt from the Rampart, and Disrupt Decorum, if you play it late enough in the game. Or, we also dictated Twin Gods with Fiendish Duo. I just noticed that. We do have that there. So it is 2 damage doublers. But Hot Pursuit. Hot Pursuit is when it enters the battlefield, you suspect a target creature an opponent controls, and as long as Hot Pursuit remains on the battlefield, it is also goaded. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if 2 or more players have lost the game, you gain control of all goaded and or suspected creatures until end of turn, and you untap them, and they gain haste. That means that you are at the absolute endgame, slap Hot Pursuit onto the battlefield, goad some, suspect it and goad it, and just you steal the entire field of what isn't what already is goaded. Like, it works really well in the end game, and I think it works perfectly for this deck because then you're also removing any and all forms of like protection, meaning that you could just take someone's board, end the game right there once it goes down to a 1v1, no matter what life total you're at. We have just all of our lands. We do have, for our like mana rocks, we have Commander Sphere, Boros Signet, Arcane Signet, Talisman of Conviction, Felwar Stone, Thought Vessel, Decanter of Endless Water, and Soul Ring. We also have Solemn Simulacrum to go hunt for lands. Here is where the real meat of the deck comes in. The protection. This is where the Pillow Fort all comes through. We have stuff like Baird, Steward of Archive, Archon of Absolution, Windborne Muse, Archangel of Tides, Sphere of Safety, Norn's Annex, Ghostly Prison, things that give you taxes, your opponent's taxes for swinging at you. And in the case of everything but Sphere of Safety, Ghostly Prison, and kind of Norn's Annex, it's 1 colorless for each creature attacking. For Sphere of Safety, it's X equaling... it's X colorless mana, where X is the number of enchantments I control. Norn's Annex is either a white mana or 2 life, because it's the Phyrexian symbol. And Ghostly Prison is 2 colorless for each creature. We also have Leyline of Sanctity, Metropolis Reformer, and Aegis of the Gods, which give me hexproof, prevents stuff like poison counters from being proliferated. It stops... there was another thing in my mind, and if I figure out or remember what it was, I'll put it on the screen, or I'll put it in the comment. But it stops you from just being forced into taking damage from burn spells and stuff, like opposing abilities such as Lightning Bolt, Twin Flame, or I think Twin Flame's the name of the spell. Shock, like stuff like that. Like deal 3 damage to any target, deal this much damage to target player. Stuff like that. It'll stop people from avoiding those taxes and allows you to continue playing in your little pillow fort. We also have Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs, which any opponent who does manage to get through will be met with a 3/3 red orc unless they pay 3 colorless, which once you're paying all these taxes, chances are you're either not going to have enough mana or you're just not going to be willing to spend that mana. And then I'll have a free blocker out of it. Boros Reckoner and Brash Taunter are both great, just supportive blockers, as whenever either of them are dealt damage, they deal that much damage to, in Brash Taunter's case, a target opponent. Boros Reckoner is to any target. Plus, he can get first strike, so he can guarantee a kill without taking any damage. There's also Darian, King of Keldor. I'm just going to assume that's how it's pronounced. Whenever you're dealt damage, you may make that many 1/1 white soldiers. Again, token creation, it's the same reason why I wanted Assemble Legion. It allows you to create a bunch of tokens that can support you and add to, like, your either your support or to your offense. And I think that might actually be it. I can mention Angel of Tide's other ability, which is as long as Angel of Tides is attacking, creatures can't block unless their controller pays 1 colorless for each of those creatures. So even if I am swinging with Archangel of Tides, as long as I have other creatures, my opponents can't block any of them unless they pay 1 mana for each one that they're blocking, or 1 mana for each creature that's blocking, I should say. which allows you again to overrun the board and be protected from, excess damage, and be able to protect yourself and stop, your creatures from just kind of falling apart while you be aggressive. But that is the deck. I think that this is a great deck. I have a similar version that focuses more on just goading directly and more passive damage from stuff like mana barbs, and it was in the deck. It's a little pricey and it is a good card to do it, and it's not at the top and I don't remember the name of it. But I'll probably flash it on screen for what it is in here. But it was like, if any creature that is attacking, like if I attack with one creature, all creatures attack on the turn, and if a land is tapped for mana, all lands tap. So it stops people from being able to pay for taxes, which is great. It's a little bit pricey. I think it was like an $8 card. It prevents people from paying taxes because all their mana is tapped. They can't, like, oh my god, well, they can't cast more spells. They can't do any combat tricks. They can't. They essentially don't have a second main phase, and it forces them to kind of play a bit more passively while I continue to be more aggressive. So there's definitely a lot of tweaks that you can make that make this kind of like a $70, $60 deck. That honestly I think is a great idea if you want to like buy this, play it for a bit, and upgrade it how you see fit. And that's the great thing about Magic, is that anyone's deck can be changed to fit a certain play style. Which is why I wanted to make this, because I love building decks and I feel like I do it in a really unique way that not many people normally do. And I like to see that. Like I built Arjun the Shifting Flames, and it's a burn wheels deck and Spellslinger, where I'm pretty much just casting cheap instants of sorceries and shuffling through my deck, drawing a bunch of cards, getting a bunch of benefits off of drawing said cards. And nobody really expects something like that. They kind of do out of an is it player, but I mean it's not to the level that Arjun can really do it. Plus, it runs off of an engine that essentially is a Niv Mizzet Infinite with Niv Mizzet Parun and Niv Mizzet the Visionary that can just immediately close out a game like that. And it's a great deck. It's a lot of fun. And it's stuff like that that really kind of drives me to want to build stuff like that. Plus, one of these days we're gonna focus on this guy right here. We got Plankton. I'm still kind of trying to make something out of it. Like I want to make like perfect the deck before I showcase it. But that's going to be a story for another day. That is all for this episode of the Commander Showcase. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Remember, before I go, comment down below if you have any commanders that you want me to check out. Anything that could be super interesting, or just a general strategy you want to see me discuss. Something like poison again, or, stuff like that. I'm more than willing to do. Thank you all, though, so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. I hope you all have a wonderful day.